All right. So, folks, welcome to what is our 15th virtual town hall meeting for Brookline's small businesses and the nonprofit community. My name is Raul Fernandez, Select Board Member and Chair of the Small Business Development Committee. We've met every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. since March 19th, which was the first day of spring. 15 weeks later, it's now officially summer, and the time has come for us to transition from weekly to bi-weekly virtual town hall meetings. That means that our next meeting will be on Thursday, July 9th. This transition will allow economic development staff to focus on new initiatives, such as expanding outdoor seating and developing other creative uses of public property in partnership with the business community. While having every other Thursday morning free will provide some extra time to work and be productive, hopefully that time can also be used for some much needed rest and relaxation. I think we're all feeling a bit burnt out at this point. And I hope you all get the chance to rest and recharge this summer. Not only is our 15-week meeting streak coming to an end, but so is our time with Pat Maloney. Pat will be retiring for the second time at the end of this month. For those of you who don't know, Pat Maloney, our Director of Environmental Health, actually retired in November after 40 years of public service. Pat gallantly returned to his post once coronavirus hit. We are incredibly grateful to Pat for his expertise, his patience, and willingness to come out of retirement to help us navigate our way through this difficult time. On behalf of the town and the Brookline business community, Pat, I want to thank you for your service and wish you a long and happy retirement. And Pat, please, feel free to unmute yourself, and if you want to share a few words with us, it'd be great.
You think I'd have it down by now, but
right.
Unmute. Yeah, no, thanks. I think this group is reflective of, I think, why I stayed so long with Brookline. Everything has always been a team approach. We take our responsibility seriously. Even though the health department has a strong role as a regulator, I do feel we're part of the process to do what we can to keep our businesses going. And, we've had a great relationship with all the departments involved and economic development. We've done a number of things over the years that have assisted with promoting and highlighting our businesses. So I thank you for allowing me to be part of it. I do feel we assisted many businesses through this process. I mean, we're getting up to phase 3. So we've covered an awful lot, we've educated an awful lot, and we've had tremendous positive feedback. So it was well worth the time, and it was a great experience. And I appreciate you having me as part of your team.
Yeah, you really become part of the family on these calls ever since you joined us, and the work that you and our health department has done throughout all of this related to the business community, but also in helping us navigate a way through this unprecedented health crisis has been absolutely phenomenal. So you, Dr. Jett, and the entire health department deserve all of our kudos and credit. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Pat, though, for this hour. So now, this is your opportunity. If you have other questions or concerns, remember, as always, if there's anything you'd like to share, whether it be a comment or a question, please use the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen. And now I'll turn it over to Meredith Mooney.
And I'm actually going to turn it over to Rep. Rotolo, who we're fortunate to have with us, given that we're in the middle of town meeting and that he's been in formal sessions voting at the State House. So thank you for making the time to come and give us some legislative updates this morning, Rep. Rotolo.
Sure, and I'm happy to do it. I don't have a whole lot to report, and I'm happy to answer questions afterward. The legislature, the House yesterday just took up spending of the CARES Act money, and some of that money will make its way to businesses. Much of it is government focused. But some will certainly make its way to small businesses and other businesses. There's some money for early education employees, for example, and some of the PPE money may be broader than state and local government. There's some money for nursing home employee testing. And of course, all of this is contingent on a Senate bill and reconciling the two and so forth. So it's still early days there. Um, the other thing I want to point out, I think it was sort of mentioned earlier this week, is that phase 3 has been delayed by at least a week, right? And recall phase 3 is gyms. What else? We got gyms, we got casinos, not a big business in Brookline, certainly, at least not legally. Those are delayed a week, and very quietly, bars were moved from phase 3 into phase 4. So the bar area of restaurants may be slower to open. Of course, there are no solely bars functioning in Massachusetts. All are restaurants and bars. So that's more on the governor's side than the legislative side. And I think you may have heard, and I'm going to pick on the North End only because it's been so big in the news. There are certainly other restaurant areas that are facing similar problems. ISD, which is Boston's inspectional services, had a Zoom conversation with the restaurateurs of the North End yesterday and made it really clear 6 feet is measurable and tables need to be 6 feet apart, and wait staff needs to have a mask on all the time, and customers need to be reminded to behave themselves, and so forth. The anecdotal observation in the North End is that wasn't happening, and that's not acceptable. And the concern is if the businesses that are operating now aren't meeting the standard, and if local government is unable to be everywhere at once and really enforce the standard, it is going to slow down rolling out of additional phases of phase 3 and phase 4. And it's really going to cause more broad economic harm than necessary. And Governor Baker is not a finger wagger, and he's not going to beat up publicly on businesses or regulatory agencies, but he has responded to the lack of complete adherence in delaying phase 3 and pushing bars back to phase 4, because the public health data suggests that just might be the right thing to do. Net hospitalization hasn't been declining over the last 10 days like it had been the 2 months before that. We're seeing, particularly in the Southeast and in the West of the United States, dramatic increases in infection rates. There's a reason why, folks. It's because they did not take things as seriously as we did in Massachusetts, in New England, in the Northeast. And those folks have cars and can get on airplanes and can arrive here. And frankly, look, let's be clear. There are plenty of people who are sick with COVID in Massachusetts who may be continuing to spread it, even if they are taking as strong a precaution as they know how to do. And so really the message, I think, from government is right now, reading the tea leaves, is we're at a point where either we're going to do a great job and things will continue to progress forward, or we could find ourselves in a holding pattern, hopefully not backslide. I don't think anyone's proposing that at the moment in Massachusetts, but in other parts of the country, there are conversations about retightening restrictions because things are getting out of control again. I'm happy to answer specific questions. I'm not aware of any fast-moving small business or business-specific legislation kicking around that that is broad or otherwise particularly compelling. There's some conversations around the right way and timing to collect taxes, but that would almost certainly be rolled out to businesses with $10 million of revenue or more per year. I don't know how many businesses in Brookline are doing 10 million bucks a year. So that's what I've got. Happy to answer questions if you have any specific ones. And I'm also, of course, happy to do some homework and get back to you.
Great. So if we have any questions for Rep. Rotolo, we can pop in the Q&A box, or maybe you can raise your hand.
please do start by using the Q&A box, please. Thank you.
Normally, I hold up my little yellow piece of paper with my name and phone number, but with all of my town meeting piles on my desk, it seems to be, oh wait, maybe this is it. Here it is. That's me. 617-872-8921. Tommy.vitolo@mahouse.gov. Feel free to reach out to me anytime for matters COVID or not.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rep. Vitola. We're going to try to pop your contact info into the chat box as well so people can refer to it if they do have any questions. Great. Thank you so much again for taking the time to join us. I know you're super busy, so we really appreciate it. Okay. You as well. Okay, just a handful of updates from economic development. I think since we first started the meeting, we've had a couple of people join. So just to repeat, we're going to start transitioning to every other week for these meetings. And, you know, it will just allow economic development a little bit more time to work on getting outdoor seating up and running. We've been working with other departments in town and some members of the business community to identify other interesting, creative uses of public space to support the businesses during this time. And those projects are going to need more rigorous one-on-one coordination. So transitioning to every other week will definitely give us a little bit more bandwidth to focus on those conversations. That said, we're still around and available to answer any questions. So I'll put our emails in the chat box again, but if you have any questions, we're still here, even if we're not on our virtual town hall meetings every week. I also, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about these virtual meetings. People said that they've been very helpful, and it's kind of provided a sense of community during this difficult time. And from the staff perspective, these have been incredibly helpful. Being able to hear people's concerns and respond to questions and have a real sense of what the most urgent issues are in the business community and where staff should be focusing our attention. So I'm very appreciative of everyone's participation and questions and willingness to engage in these meetings. That's been incredibly helpful. And we look forward to doing it on a bi-weekly basis going forward. These meetings have also been super helpful for the Brookline Chamber of Commerce. Debbie Miller is a regular participant in these meetings, both as a member of the Small Business Development Committee and as the executive director of the Chamber. And I'm going to turn it over to Debbie if she's comfortable, or we can circle back to her when she's ready to talk about several Chamber initiatives that have been inspired by our virtual town hall meeting discussions and issues that have come up in these meetings. So one of which includes a Q&A in early July with Rep. Votolo and State Representative Nika Eligardo. So Debbie, are you there and ready to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff the Chamber is working on? I know you guys have an event coming up tomorrow as well. Okay, Debbie said yes in the chat box, but I don't see her on video or audio. Debbie?
Debbie, we've got you promoted as a panelist. You should be able to unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, great. I'm here. Thanks, Meredith. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you. This has been a wonderful collaborative effort, and I think it makes us all feel, I mean, as horrible as we're all feeling about all these challenges, I think it makes us feel really good about living here or working here and making things happen, problem solving, and doing the best with the situation. So thank you. And Pat, a special thank you. Wishing you the very, very best. We can't thank you enough for all that you've done for us. Thanks. This actually, a lot of thoughts from this particular meeting have inspired what we've done at the Chamber. For example, this coming Friday, we have an event that is focused on HR issues. So if you have any questions about what to do about employees coming back or not coming back, or dealing with employees during this very delicate situation. We do have an expert. She's an attorney and she's an expert in employment issues. And Mary Kate Garrity is going to be at this Zoom event that we're having this Friday at 9 a.m. And we encourage everybody to sign up. It's either a contribution or free. We're hoping people contribute. And if you can't, we certainly understand, and just sign up complimentary. We also just launched a survey yesterday that also came from your concerns. We noticed that another chamber, Beverly Chamber of Commerce, had launched a survey asking residents about their comfort level going back to all of these businesses. And I shared it with some of you, and there was some enthusiasm. So we had a little bit of a shaky launch yesterday. The first link didn't work, but we have a link that's working now. And I've shared it in the chat. And if you could all please share this particular link, it's a good one, with everybody in your network. The more people who respond, the better informed our businesses are going to be. And they're really curious about what people want. You know, what is it that will make people feel the most comfortable? Raul, actually, you could, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you might want to talk about a letter that we got yesterday from a young woman, or young girl, Hannah, asking about air ventilation.
Right. Yeah. And this was a seventh grader. Hannah Peterson was really encouraging, if we can, to have businesses have their doors open and even windows open, if you have those, to encourage folks to come in. And also, she felt like folks would feel like a lot safer and healthier if that were the case. I did want at some point to ask Pat Maloney whether or not there are any issues with that or restrictions on that. I can't see any from my perspective, but you've got a totally different one. So either now or at some point addressing that would be helpful.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are issues. And it's come up in our State Board of Health meeting, because the recommendation is to increase ventilation also. That's why they've allowed outdoor seating first, because of the outdoor ventilation. However, as a public health department, we're concerned about pests and flies and insects and critters. So when we open all our windows and doors, we're potentially inviting them into our facilities. So there are ways of combating that and addressing it. Screens, obviously, you can open windows and still have screens, as well as other methods that are out there, air curtains, and there are devices now that are designed for that. So any business that is thinking of opening everything up, check first with your pest service and discuss it with the business that you have under contract, of what options, what recommendations they have. And then also you could call the health department or ask for your inspector that covers your business, and they'll give you some guidance. So can be done. It is, open doors. We get it. It helps invite the public in. I was really impressed. I looked, and how old was that writer? 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well crafted, well thought. Just impressive. As a former middle school and high school teacher, I'm impressed. She would get an A+ on my grade. So nice job, and very forward thinking at that time. So yes, so it can be done with some tweaking.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pat. Debbie.
Thanks. One more thing too. I just wanted to encourage everybody to sign up to Nika L. Ugardo and Tommy Rotolo are going to be in another Zoom event that we're having on July 9th. And I think it's going to be really interesting. Not only will they be telling us what they've been busy doing over at the State House, but you'll have an opportunity to ask them questions. So I think it'll be worthwhile. And if anybody needs any connections, thoughts about anything, please get in touch, Debbie@brooklinechamber.com. And if we don't have the answer, we'll try to find someone who does.
Debbie, and did you just want to talk quickly? I know that you mentioned it before in these meetings about the monthly chamber check-ins.
Thank you. Thanks, Meredith. Yes, every month we have a chamber check-in. And if you check our website, you can sign up for that. I want to say it's the 18th of July, but off the top of my head, I should have that right here, and I don't. But we do have a chamber check-in. It is once a month. And last time it was terrific. It was just a wonderful opportunity for people to get together, encourage one another, ask questions, meet new people, see people that you know already. It's only an hour. And if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. So again, that's the same thing. If you'd like to contribute, great. If you can't, just sign up for free and join us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Debbie. And then I also wanted to give Beth Venti a shout out because the chamber event coming up tomorrow was inspired by Beth's idea that she floated at one of these virtual town hall meetings. So, and I know Beth and Debbie have been coordinating about the event tomorrow too. So a couple of other updates, which I'll just run through quickly. The Small Business Relief Grant Program, we're still accepting applications. The third and what will probably be the final round of applications is going to close tomorrow at 5 p.m. We've had a lot of applicants. We are hoping that we'll be able to get our first round of grant recipients funding within the next week and a half or 2 weeks, which is very exciting. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly send me an email. I'm going to pop links into the chat box after I finish with the updates. Our new curbside pickup and by appointment only signs are going to arrive tomorrow. So we'll have them in hand tomorrow. Request your sign if you could use one of those. And then just a reminder that the Green Line C branch is going to be shut down for a 28-day closure. They are doing track replacement and intersection reconstruction, and that's going to be from July 5th until August 1st. There is an upcoming public meeting. The Transportation Board has talked a lot about these meetings over the past several months, or this work over the past several months. And I'm going to include a link to the public meeting, which is on June 29th. Another quick update, we've been talking a lot about outdoor seating and creative repurposing of our public spaces, and the Webster Street lot. We're working on putting out picnic tables. That's going to be an area that is maintained by our Parks Department, and you're going to see a lot of colorful picnic tables either tomorrow if the paint on the picnic tables dries fast enough, but worst case scenario at the latest it would be on Monday. So keep an eye out for those. And again, if you have any creative ideas about common outdoor seating areas or other interesting uses of public space, shoot me or Kara an email. And those are all of my updates. I'm going to turn it over to Pat for some public health updates.
So thanks for that. As Representative Rotolo mentioned, things are looking still good in our state. Unfortunately, there has been a slight uptick on hospital admissions, but overall, we're still holding firm. We're not hearing what we're hearing, as he mentioned, in the southern states. My observation of that is, and we're hearing it from colleagues and sharing that way, is really there hasn't been great compliance that what we've been seeing up here. When they opened up their interior restaurants and bars and other environments, we've all seen the pictures. There was not good social distancing, face protection, other elements that help contain things. And so I can't speak strong enough that, businesses and the public really need to follow these recommendations because it helps contain things. And I think it's why we're seeing good results so far in Massachusetts. And we want to continue that and not just say, okay, it's nice weather and, forget it all. That's not what we want to do. So continue to be diligent and try the best you can to convey those messages, hand washing, sanitation, hygiene, high touch surface cleaning. It's all part of the package. And if we do all of that, I think we should be going in a positive direction. The health department is still quite busy with our seasonal regulatory task. We have been opening camps, getting a lot of questions from camp operators as well as parents in camps looking to be assured that there are safety protocols for them to be operating, and we're reassuring them. And we've done our site visits, and the camps have been very compliant that have been opening so far. Swimming pools, we've been busy opening swimming pools for condominiums and other environments, and not major changes except for the social distancing and the face covering requirements. So we're doing very, very well there. We're continuing to participate with recommendations for the outdoor seating, and we're getting more and more applications for that, and some innovative approaches to it, and we're willing to work with anyone that wants to do it. I do want to mention, though, we've had a few calls, so businesses, and convey this to your business partners to be diligent. The outdoor seating does have to be compliant with accessibility issues. So persons with disabilities need to afford themselves, be able to afford themselves to the seating environment. So please incorporate that when you set up the seating environment. Shouldn't be too hard because you have an outdoor space, but sometimes it can be challenging. But make sure you look at that and you don't don't miss that point, because we want to make sure everybody is accommodated. I know Caitlin's on there and on here also, and I'm sure she'll support that. But with our Office of Disabilities, but that's a very important part. Otherwise, we're getting great compliance, great feedback. So continue the good work. So phase 2, part 2, we what's allowed to open our nail salons, indoor seating of food establishments, and there's no restriction on the capacity. However, the restriction gets enacted by you have to maintain the seating, the tables 6 feet apart. So that's where it's kind of restricting your capacity. So establishments need to rearrange their seating arrangements. Keep in mind, again, disability access, emergency access, pathways to the bathrooms, all of that has to be integrated into your design. And if there's a question, call the health department and we'll walk you through it. But it seems everybody's been reading the guidance and implementing it the way it should be. And of course, the hygiene and the high touch surface cleaning is critical. Nail salons, tanning salons, and our tattoo and body art establishments also this week were allowed to open, and understand they have industry specific requirements that they have to comply with. So you could imagine a tattoo facility, they have a bunch of things that they have to do. Fortunately, part of their training covers health and sanitation. That's how they receive their license. We require that. So they've all, it's been a smooth transition for them to understand what the expectation is from the health department. So we're getting ready to go to the phase 3. The one I'm excited about is the gyms. But I'm also concerned about it because I've seen some troubling information coming across. Again, we monitor what goes on across the country, and the state in Massachusetts hasn't given us our guidance documents, and there's no guidance from CDC. But I've been collecting information that I'm impressed with in other states. So I think we're going to start sharing that with our gyms and facilities like that to warm them up to what the expectations are, and capacity, social distancing, moving machines, things of that nature, and obviously the interior cleaning. That's a big one because people are using machines, they're on bench presses and other things that need to be cleaned and sanitized between use. So most gyms have been doing that, but it's going to be something that they got to be more diligent with, keep an eye on. Some gyms have been closing midday, or at least taking a midday break. So they're doing a deep cleaning in the morning, midday, and near the end of the day. And that's a good protocol, with additionally doing high touch surfaces. So we'll send out some guidance to help the industry. We have an awful lot of gyms in the town, and we want to put that in the right direction. And beyond that, we're ready for any questions or concerns, but things are going smooth. Nothing dramatic with the health department at this point.
Great. Thank you, Pat. So just a reminder before we jump into, we do have some questions for Pat, but this is your last chance to ask Pat questions because he will be re-entering retirement as of early July, and this is our last time having him on our virtual town hall meeting. So just giving everyone the chance to give some extra thought to what they might want to ask Pat. So we have a question from Matt, who's wondering if Brookline Public Health would impose more stringent guidelines than the state for phase 3 businesses, or should we assume that following the state guidelines that will be compliant with Brookline, which I think you kind of alluded to in your presentation. But
yeah, it's difficult for us. For example, on last Friday in the afternoon, the governor announces interior of restaurants going to be open, and then on Monday they're open. So we scramble. I know Kara and I were exchanging emails over the weekend and posting things to get the word out. So as diligent as we want to be, it's tough to get some of those guidelines out to everyone. I don't anticipate we're going to be stricter, but I don't want to commit to that until I see it. If there is a significant lapse, I will give credit to the state. They've been pretty diligent with looking, as we do, across the country and seeing what works, what doesn't work. And they've been, I'd say, cautious. So I don't think you'll see anything unless something's glaring to us, and we'll have to explain that. There's a reason, everything, there's science behind it. So we wouldn't adopt something that didn't make sense unless there was a good science reason behind it.
Great. So we have a question from Roxy at Puppet Show Place Theater. Roxy is wondering about what regulations apply for their non-camp arts instruction program that they would like to run on-site in August. We can follow state guidance, but can't have an on-site healthcare professional. Is this the best way to verify that we can proceed? She's called and left messages, but hasn't heard back yet.
Yeah, I know I have an inspector assigned to her, so expect a call. We've been internally discussing unique programs like that. I know one issue we learned, again, from our state conference was that having a program like that and going to a park is frowned upon. They don't want to see that as that group, if there's a group together. Persons can go to a park on their own, but not as part of that group because it's a non-controlled environment during their session. But expect a call. I'll remind the inspector to give you a follow-up on some of the guidance that we've obtained, but it can be done safely. You don't have to have all those safety elements that are associated with the children's camp part of it because you're a specific type of arts program. So I'm sure we're going to have something nice going on for you this summer.
All right. And I think we've got a couple of more general questions in the queue, but do we have any more public health specific Pat questions? Or just questions for Pat? All right. Thank you, Pat.
Great.
Okay, so we have a question from Roxy for Raul. Raul, do you want to take this one?
Sure thing. Roxy's asking, what is the best way for businesses to comment or engage in public conversations around the town budget and the initiative to reimagine policing in Brookline? Many of us are not voting residents, but we clearly or certainly have experience relevant to the topic. Concerns from our BIPOC customers and partners, that's Black, Indigenous, people of color, customers and partners, direct experiences with BPD's culture of public accountability, etc. So two things. One, tonight is what I hope will be our last night of town meeting. I can't guarantee it, but we do have town meeting tonight. So if you're interested in commenting on the budget, I think the folks that you should reach out to at this point are town meeting members. I am going to pop into the chat the link to where you can find the information for all the town meeting members, and also you'll find there what's on what we call the warrant, which are the various bills that we're taking up as part of town meeting. So I'd encourage you to do that now. In the next couple of weeks, literally starting next Tuesday and then the Tuesday after that, the select board is going to start taking up the creation of a task force to reimagine policing or public safety in Brookline, as well as looking at various things like the police complaint process, a possibility of banning chokeholds, issues related to riot gear, mutual aid agreements, and the like. So there's a lot of that that's going to be coming up. Our select board meetings are on Tuesdays. Usually they begin, well, I hesitate to say usually because we kind of jump around a little bit, but they begin around 5 o'clock. What I encourage you to do is go to the Brookline website and just check out the calendar. And you can also, this is very important, you can also sign up for alerts from any of the various boards, committees, and commissions that you're interested in finding more information about, including the Small Business Development Committee. So if you go to the calendar and there's a notify me section, you want to click on that and you can sign up to get alerts in your email. So when agendas are posted about issues that you care about, you can get them right in your email. Is that right, Meredith? Did I miss anything?
That was great. Very comprehensive answer. We're working on popping the link to the Notify Me, where you can also sign up for the Business News Flash and Small Business Development Committee notifications. Awesome. All right. So I think Jerry had a question. Jerry, okay. He has 2 questions. It's estimated that 60 to 75% of restaurants are not going to reopen. Newton is not enforcing parking meters. Can Brookline do the same? Can the town help with street tables by providing barriers, as this is a big expense? So we actually, Todd Corain is on as an attendee. Todd, do you want to answer this question? Putting Todd on the spot.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm glad I joined. Essentially, with respect to enforcement, the town has decided, in conjunction with the police department, that as of June 1, meters would begin to be enforced. This is done as traffic begins to pick up. We want to make sure that there's a turnover of parking spaces in order to allow people to come into the commercial districts, do their shopping, move out, and then have the next person come in. That's the main rule from a transportation standpoint of the parking meters. So we did not enforce them all through the stay-at-home advisory and a little bit past through phase 1, but for phase 2, we are beginning to enforce them again. With respect to helping the businesses and the restaurants, as was discussed last week, the select board approved an expedited process to allow for an administrative review with the town departments and a sign off by the town administrator and 1 select board member instead of a public hearing, to fast track requests for open seating on sidewalks, parking spaces, and other public spaces. And what you'll see if you go move around Coolidge Corner is Zaftig's is using the space adjacent to the Ridley School. Hamilton's is using a parking space in front, the sidewalk, as well as the pop-up park in the back near the Center Street West parking lot. We've been fast tracking. I want to say Pat and Kara do these reviews as well. At least probably at least 10 to 15 applications have come in, and we are processing them within a matter of days for approval on the staff side. For sidewalks, for public spaces, for parking spaces, etc. So we're doing everything we can to help the businesses and working with them. We are also going to be opening up communal spaces in the Webster Street parking lot is the first one that will be opening up, so that those people getting takeout from places like Subway or Mike's Deli that don't have inside seating can walk nearby and sit in a newly created park in the parking lot where there'll be picnic benches. Some of them ADA accessible, and sit and eat there as well in a sort of a more communal public space as well.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Sorry about putting you on the spot, but that was a great response.
And Meredith, I'm going to add on, if Jerry's still with us, Jerry, look out in a couple weeks. You'll probably be seeing some hearings related to additional funding, either coming through federal funding, either coming through the CARES Act or through Community Development Block Grant funding. As that funding is released, Meredith and I will be advocating for some of that funding to assist with COVID-related business expenses. But there are many social service needs throughout the town. And so if that's something you want to advocate for, I can follow up with you and let you know how best to do that. And then I don't know if Todd mentioned that Todd is also applying for 2 different grants, I believe tomorrow, related to outdoor seating expenses. DPW has volunteered to do accessibility ramps, and we're focusing any funding we get for areas that are in use by more than one restaurant. We don't yet have any funding source cited for Jerry's last question about providing individual businesses with barriers for each parking space. Is that right, Todd?
Yeah, that's correct. We're hoping that through one of the grants that we're applying for, that we might be able to get some materials that if we do not use them in the common areas, we can then divert to try to help businesses that can't afford to create the barriers that they're creating. Although I will say that there are low-cost alternatives that are being used by many businesses. You can see them if you just go on and Google outdoor seating Boston. They're using planters with some flowers in them, which from Home Depot, which is rather cheap. That kind of stuff. They're buying like cones and just putting those out. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to create some kind of barrier. One, to make it comfortable for your diners, as well as provide that sort of physical separation from the adjacent lot. So it doesn't have to be very expensive. It can be done on the cheap.
So Jerry had also asked to speak and maybe tack onto his comments. So Jerry, if you're comfortable, feel free to unmute.
Thank you. So first of all, the staff, which I'm working with, I'm now applying for 5 different restaurants to get outdoor seating, trying to help them, has been great. And I understand the process has been shortened, but I'm looking for leadership. I think the town needs to step up. The process is faster, but it still involves filling out a form, getting approved by 5 different departments, providing insurance, building out, mapping, all kinds of stuff. And the reality is we're going to lose our restaurants. And what I'm looking for is the town, and I guess this is directed towards select person Raul. Sorry, I'm using your first name, but we're all informal here. The town should take that money from the parking meters if you're going to charge, or find some funding, and step up now. That means we don't have that many commercial areas. Let's put some Jersey barriers in front of the parking places and then go to the restaurant and say, okay, provide us with insurance and go. The time period is very short. The summer is very short. And what's going to happen is we're going to lose all these restaurants. And I know the process has been improved, but it's not enough. We need leadership. We need to do something now. The town can step up, do a common thing, block off parts of Washington Square, block off parts of Coolidge Corner. You say it's not expensive, Todd, and you're right. And Todd is a great guy. I love working with him. But it's these businesses are dying. And unless we help them, we're going to lose what we love as Brookline. So I want leadership, meaning let's be proactive and do stuff. We can't wait for grants. We can't wait for funding. Town has $100 million budget plus whatever it is now. It's probably more. Why can't we do something now?
Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
And I think Jerry deserves a response on that. I'm happy to support, and I think members of the board too are. We don't agree on everything on our select board, but every proposal that's come our way to help support small businesses throughout this entire crisis, including opening up sidewalks and making room for parklets and all that kind of stuff, we've approved every single one unanimously. So if there are workable solutions that you think we're not taking up right now, I'd love to see some of those come our way. That needs to come through our economic development division, because there are realities that they are aware of that, frankly, the 5 board members simply wouldn't be aware of, and they can help basically work through some of these options. So please, not just Jerry, but anyone, if you've got ideas or things you'd like to see us do, please submit that. This, like I said, this board has been very supportive of all of the proposals that have come our way. But I don't think that board members are going to be able to have the expertise to be able to craft the specific proposals. This is why we have people like Kara and Todd and Meredith and others. But I know that they've been very open to ideas that have come their way over these last few months, and many of them have actually gone on to be implemented. So please send those along. And Anne, I think, has something to add here.
I just wanted to, if I may have misunderstood, I agree completely with Jerry that we need to do this as quickly as we can, but you mentioned a whole bunch of steps to go through. You mentioned mapping and a couple of other things, and I just wanted to push back a little bit. I happened to have walked down Hanover Street one Sunday, maybe the first Sunday that they were open in the North End, and I wanted to get the hell out of there as quickly as I could. It was terrible in terms of, I wasn't going to eat. I just went literally to see what it looked like and felt like as a pedestrian walking through there, and it was horrible. I actually called Kara just to see what we were thinking about here, because that was not comfortable as a pedestrian at all, at least not somebody my age, let me put it that way. But so I just want to make sure that we're taking that into account, things like spacing the table so that a wheelchair can get by on Harvard Street, which I believe is not the case at the moment, just because people are putting as many tables as they want, and I get that. But we just need to make sure that things like that are accounted for, are accounted for as well. And I agree, we need to do it as quickly as possible.
So Jerry, if you want to just send me a sketch of what you're thinking specifically, that I think would be the most helpful next step for Todd and I. For example, the Washington Square Association, Shulon sent me an email from residents that had some ideas of what might work there. And I know, Jerry, you and I have been brainstorming on some fun ideas for after the Beacon Street work is done. But when you're talking about Jersey barriers and that kind of thing, I know some of our restaurants don't want Jersey barriers because it actually takes up that much more space of where they could put tables. But please just send me a sketch of what you're thinking, and we'll, something specific, and we can run with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Do we have, I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A. Is there anything else people want to know? Any tributes to Pat Maloney before we adjourn?
I haven't had a chance to say thank you yet to Pat and with everybody here. I've known Pat since I joined the town in 2008, and he's always been even-keeled. He's always taken a deep breath before answering. And I just really appreciate your whole outlook to work and to public service. And you've been a very big role model for me. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, we to work with economic development, I think it's a new model that I've shared with colleagues in other departments. You know, you've come and talked to the Public Health Association, and because of that, other cities and towns have adopted our model. So kudos to you too. You know, what we've built here is others have learned from it and continue that in other communities. So no, it's great. It's been a fun journey.
And we've got some well wishes in the Q&A box. Puppet Show Place Theater. Roxy says, "We love you, Pat. Thank you for your service." And Liz Linder from Liz Linder Photography in Brookline Village says, "Thank you to Pat and for his leadership."
Thanks, everybody.
Jerry says Pat rocks. Right.
All right. Well, I'll hand it back to Raul.
So as we mentioned before, we're going to be shifting to every other week meetings. So Meredith, remind us, I know it's in my document here, our next meeting is July
9th.
Thursday, July 9th at 9 a.m. In the meantime, just wanted to say a few things. One, this has, I know, been a really tough time for many folks, and I'm glad that on these calls we get to have some very light moments, but understand that this is real for those of you who are business owners and those of you who are operating nonprofits in town, and for all of your employees and staff, that this is really real. And we'll continue to be here for you. Know that these check-ins will keep happening and opportunities to ask these questions in this format will keep happening, but that all of us are available in the space between. That you can reach out at any time, that you can run something by us, that you can ask us a difficult question, and that we're committed to making sure we get you some kind of answer to those questions. So please keep reaching out to us about that. I for one, I've said this before. I think I've said it twice already on this call, and I'll say it again. I know that our select board does stand united in making sure that our business community and our nonprofit community gets back up and running. So I'll be out there doing my part, spending my bucks. I'm ready for Hops and Scotch to open up, and some other places out there. And we really need to get the message out to our community. That we need to eat local and buy local, especially during this time as much as possible. The success of our communities and having thriving communities is tied up in the success of our businesses and nonprofits in town. So we've got to keep sending that message out and making it loud and clear that we need to support folks in our community, and that includes our businesses and nonprofits. So we'll keep doing that, I think, as a board. We'll keep doing that as a small business development committee. I know the town staff have and will continue to do that as well, and we know you will too. So we'll be here with you. So with that said, we'll see you in a couple weeks. In the meantime, hope it's going well for you, and let us know what we can do to help it go better. Thanks, y'all. Take care.